You ever hand out candy on Halloween? You come to the door expecting kids in costumes, but instead, someone's just standing there, silent, masked, watching. At first, you'd tell yourself it's nothing, just Halloween, just another trick. But what if it wasn't? What if that mask wasn't for candy, but for something else? In a quiet suburban neighborhood, Clara thought her night was over once the candy bowl was empty. But one visitor wasn't looking for candy. They were looking for her. This is the story of the Halloween Watcher. Clara had spent the evening handing out candy to trick-or-treaters. Pumpkin lights flickered on the porch. Ghost decorations swayed in the breeze. The air smelled of crisp autumn leaves and sweet candied apples lingering on the night wind. It was the kind of night that felt safe, predictable, wrapped in tradition. Clara smiled as she dropped candy into plastic pumpkins and pillowcases. Each group of kids was a burst of color. Witch hats, superheroes, painted faces. It was the rhythm of Halloween she'd known all her life. But then, she noticed something that didn't fit. Across the street, a figure stood, dressed in dark clothes, face hidden behind a plain mask. They weren't moving with the flow of parents or neighbors. They weren't walking toward a house or calling out to children. They were just there, perfectly still. At first, Clara dismissed it. Maybe a parent staying back, keeping watch. Maybe just another costume blending into the night. But something about the figure unsettled her. It wasn't just their stillness. It was how they seemed angled toward her porch, toward her, watching, only her. Clara shook her head. She gave a nervous laugh, tried to push it away, and turned back to her candy bowl. It was Halloween. Strange sights came with the night. After the last child vanished down the street, she went back inside and sank into the couch to watch TV, thinking the night was over. Then it came. A knock, one sharp, deliberate rap against the door. Not the hurried rhythm of children, not the clumsy tap of teenagers, something precise, deliberate. Her heart jumped. Probably someone late, she whispered to herself. Kids, pranksters, nothing serious. But when she peered through the peephole, her stomach dropped. There it was, the figure, masked, dark, unmoving. Her mouth went dry. For a moment, she considered running, screaming. But curiosity, or perhaps disbelief, kept her rooted. It's late, she murmured, trying to sound firm. Go home. No answer, not a word. Just the weight of its gaze, pressing heavy against the glass of the peephole. The wind rustled the porch floorboards, but the figure didn't move, didn't sway. It simply waited, watching. Clara stepped back, heart racing. Her mind scrambled. Maybe it was someone playing a prank. Maybe she was imagining it. She returned to the couch, blanket clutched tightly around her shoulders, trying to convince herself it was nothing. But then she got a text. I know you're there. Her stomach churned. Someone had been watching her all evening, tracking her every move. And now, they knew her phone number. Clara tried to steady herself. She told herself she was overreacting. It was just a prank, just Halloween. But when she sat back down, her eyes kept drifting toward the front door. And then it came again. Another knock. But this time, it was harder, heavier. The kind of knock that carried weight, as if someone was leaning into it. Not a playful tap, not a polite request, a demand. Clara froze in place. Her breath caught in her throat. The sound rattled through the walls, vibrating the picture frames, making the lamp beside her tremble slightly. Her chest tightened. Whoever it was, They wanted her to know they weren't going away. She inched toward the door, heart pounding so loudly she was sure they could hear it on the other side. Through the peephole, nothing. But she could feel it. Someone was out there. Then came a new sound, the creak of the porch boards, as though someone had stepped backward, but not away. Still there. Still waiting? Another message. Why aren't you answering the door? You used to love games. Her mind reeled. She whispered the words aloud as if saying them would make them less real. Games? What games? Then another message. This time a picture of her back door. Opened. Clara's whole body shook. Someone was out there. Watching. And now, they might be inside. She forced herself toward the back door, every step heavy, her heart slamming against her ribs. The door was closed. And then it came again. The knock. But this time, it wasn't from the front. It wasn't from the back. It came from inside the walls themselves. A hollow pounding, echoing through the house, shaking her to her core. Clara spun in place, desperate, scanning doorways and windows, her breath sharp and uneven. That was the moment Clara realized this wasn't random. This wasn't a prank. It was deliberate, calculated. And whoever it was, they weren't knocking to be let in. They were knocking to remind her that they could come in whenever they wanted. Clara finally managed to call the police. The dispatcher stayed calm, telling her to breathe, to lock every door, to keep the line open until officers arrived. The minutes stretched on like hours. Every sound in the house became a threat. Every creak of wood felt deliberate. She pressed her ear to the receiver, whispering, "Please hurry, please." And then finally, red and blue lights cut through her curtains. 2 officers entered, sweeping the house, checking every door, every window. Nothing. No footprints. No broken locks. No signs of forced entry. But Clara knew what she'd heard. She knew what she'd seen. The officers gathered the evidence she had, the text messages, the photos, and when one of them looked at her phone, his brow furrowed. "This isn't just some prank," he said quietly. "Whoever sent these, they were close. Close enough to know this place. Close enough to know you." Clara froze. Her stomach twisted. She knew the officer was right. This wasn't random. This was personal. Days later, the police were able to trace the texts. An officer gave Clara a call to tell her the news. "We traced the number," he said. "Do you know an Elise Harper?" The name hit her like ice water. Memories surfaced. High school hallways, whispered rumors, a friendship broken by cruelty. Clara remembered the pranks she had once laughed at, the times she joined in, the way Elise had been cornered, humiliated, left trembling in tears. Clara had buried it, moved on, forgotten, but Elise hadn't. Elise didn't want to hurt a stranger. She didn't want to scare just anyone. She wanted Clara to remember, to feel for one night. The fear she herself had once lived through. Clara thought she had buried her past, but the past doesn't stay buried. It waits, it remembers, and on Halloween night, it knocks. So this Halloween, when the doorbell rings, when a knock rattles the wood, ask yourself, is it just another trick-or-treater? Or is it someone who remembers what you'd rather forget?